Welcome back. So finally we are ready to build our app, which you can see here. I'm running it locally. And just to refresh your memory quickly, let's go through the whole process, how it works. So we just need to provide a stock symbol. So let's say NVIDIA, I'm providing NVIDIA. Select what mode you want. Let's keep it to professional and then click this. And maybe within, I think 10 seconds should give us the whole analysis and the report. Here you go. So this is the report generated, and once the report is there, either I can copy it or I can download. So if I click the download button, and it downloads the report for me, which I can open, right, in PDF format. So that's how the app works. So I just wanted to go through once to refresh our memory. And now let's straight away start building it from scratch. So I will go to my terminal quickly, and this is where I'm holding my all the projects. So you just go to your folder where you want to keep all your projects, and then let's create a project directory quickly. So I'm going to call it stock analyst. Let's cd into that. All right, now so again, the first step, let's activate our Python version. Pyenv. First we check versions, and then we activate. We are in the local, so we'll do local pyenv local, and the version we want is 3.13.2. okay, so now pyenv versions will give us that this is the activated version. Once we are done this, next step is to create our virtual environment. So python -m venv.venv. So I'm calling it venv. It's up to you whatever you want to call it. Quickly create it. Okay. So if I do ls-la, so now you can see there is this ven directory is there. What happened? Okay, yeah. So highlighter. So here's the ven. So once we did this, let's activate it. So source dot venv / scripts activate. So now you can see it is activated. All right, and then we can go ahead and start installing our packages. Okay, but before we start installing our packages, we have not been doing the Git part yet because of all the intro session which we were doing. We do not want to commit them in Git. So this is a project, so we will be committing it in Git and GitHub. Finally, we'll be pushing it. So let's start Git. So how do we do it? We just do git init. Okay, and this should be within the project directory. Okay, so if you do ls-la, now you can see there is a git, so everything will be tracked here. So now it is git tracked directory. Okay, so next step is for us to install all the packages. So pip install these library, which we have already seen and installed previously. One more additional thing we want to do is markdown_pdf. So this is the library we'll be using to convert our markdown into PDF document, and let's install it. Okay, so all installed here. So clear this, ls-la. Now before we move on and start building it, one more very important thing we want to do is let me go to here, and here we are going to search for git ignore Python. Okay, so this will be the very first link which you should be getting from GitHub git ignore, right? And we are looking for python.gitignore file. let's copy this first, and then I'm going to go back here. Okay, so let's first do ls minus la, and then let's start any editor of your choice. To start notepad, and I'm going to paste what I copied from there, and for now I'm just going to save it here. So here, and I'm going to name it dot git ignore and save. Then I'm going to close this, ls minus la. Now you see this dot ignore file is created. So basically this file is required to ignore those files which we do not want to commit. You remember all our API keys are stored in .env file, which we generally keep in the same folder where project is, but we do not want this to be committed and pushed to GitHub. So this .ignore file, in this file we list all those files which we do not want to be committed. So there is a lot of things, like for example .venv. This is just a collection of Python libraries, and its size is huge. You do not want this to be committed. You do not want this Python version to be committed, right? So and plus there are other files. For example, if you're keeping some kind of documentation which is private to you and do not want to commit, then you just list this in git.ignore. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of files. So why we have copied from internet? Because these are pre-made files, so a lot of things people have already figured out. For Python development, these are the files which they are just generated as part of your, when you're building it, you do not want to commit in your source code, so they have already listed it. There are a few things we'll be adding of our own. So we'll, for example, if you see where is it? Yeah, see, so .env, these files are already, you can see they have included. Similarly, .python version will be included already somewhere. So this is a pre-made file, and the file which we want to ignore, we'll just list it here. Okay, so this is very important. And then next, let's start building our project. Let's move on to VS Code, and let's do that. So open folder in Visual Studio Code, and this is directly virtually empty except .git ignore we created. This is for Python version, and I have copied two more files, .env example, and this as we discussed last time, this is just to show you how it looks and what it should have. So if you are using OpenAI, then you should supply OpenAI actual API key here, and if you are using Azure hosted OpenAI, then these are the parameters which you need to supply. This is what I am using. And for Langsmith, you need to supply this everything. When you sign up in Langsmith, you will get these details from there, as we discussed last time. And this is the API key. Okay, so this is a sample. This will be committed to GitHub, and it will be available for you to see. .env is where the actual data is there. So this is not, I am not going to commit or show, and that's why you see that .env is grayed out. .venv is also grayed out. This is because when we created .git ignore, these files are already mentioned in here, right? So you see .env and .venv. So Git knows that these not to be committed. But if you notice, Python version, .python version is not grayed out, even though we do not want it to commit. So this is actually here, but is commented. So I'll uncomment it. The moment uncomment and save. Okay, so you see now Git knows that this is not to be committed, so this file will be ignored. All right. Okay, so let's start building our app. The very first thing I want to do is I want to create a structure. Okay, so instead of just creating a Python file in the root directory, let's have some structure which helps. So one I'm going to create is called Backend. Let me create it first, and then I'll explain what. And then another one is I'm going to create front end. Oh, not here, man. Yeah, So outside, so the same level. Another, I'm going to create something called shared, and then I'm going to create another one called data. Okay, so these 4 folders I have created. Backend is I'm going to keep all the code that relates with backend. So for in our case, we are using LangChain and LLMs to connect our app. So this is something which happens behind the scene. The user can't see it. So if in case we add a database here or calling some backend APIs, some services behind the scene, then all the code will go here just to segregate. Now all the UI related code, the Gradio code which we are going to build our UI is going to sit here in the front end. Data is something where the data that we generate or data we consume. So this can further be divided into input and output if we want. But for now, I'm just going to keep it data. So any report we generate, any file we consume, everything will be held here. Shared is something which doesn't fall in either backend or front end. So this is something generic utilities which we can use again and again. So this is where it's going to held here in shared. All right. Okay. So let's start filling it up now. So I'm going to create a file inside backend called lc.py. Okay. Now this lc.py stands for langchain.py. So all the langchain related code will go here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste. All right. Now the code in this file is same what we have been learning and using in the LangChain tutorial, but the only change is that what I have done is I have created functions around them. For example, to connect to LLM, you remember we I think we created function there as well, if I remember correctly. So based on the host type, it's going to use the correct LangChain classes, model classes, and it's going to return that LLM to the calling function or calling code, right? So I've created a function called connect, and this is the basically example or options that we can supply, and based on these options is going to call and create the particular LLM class and return. And I have done some error checking here. Okay, why I'm doing this? This is not required here. Okay, all right. So okay, so this is a simple function that create LangChain chat model class and returns. Then another function I have created for creating a prompt template. Now this we can very well write directly in the code where we are creating prompt template, but since it is going to be used again and again, it's better to create a function. What it does is it takes 2 parameters. One is a system prompt, another is a user prompt, 2 strings, and it just creates chat prompt template using whatever we have supplied. Okay, and that just returns. This is pretty simple. Okay, just creating chat prompt template based on the past messages. Now this function is I've named it predict. You can name it run or whatever. So this is the function which makes a call to LLM. All right. So since this function is making a call, so it requires LLM. It requires the prompt template, which will be created by this function, and then these are the 2 inputs that our UI takes. So these 2 will be supplied by a user interface. One is the style, which is currently we have 2, professional and playful, and the stock is the user supplied symbol for the stock. Okay, so these 4 parameters, and what it does, very simple, it just creates a chain because everything is supplied directly, right? And then it invokes the chain using the user supplied values from the user interface. So this everything, nothing new. This everything we have seen in LangChain tutorial video. Only only thing extra that I have added is I'm doing some error checking, because this operation is it might take longer. Sometimes the call might fail to connect to LLM, so it might raise exception and crash. So in order to catch that, I've just added try and except block, and I should not have F string here. I should not have this. Okay. And finally, once it is invoked, it returns a response, and response is returned back to us. So 3 simple functions in lc.py. So this is what we are going to use. Now I'm going to create another file in backend. Is called prompts.py. So this also we have seen. So we kept the prompt separately in a separate file, just to not to clutter our code. Same thing we are going to do, but in this case our prompt will be different. Okay, so this is our prompt. One is system prompt, which sets up the behavior of the system and the persona, and this is the user prompt, actually the query that we are sending to our LLM. Now what this prompt is saying, basically I am telling LLM that you are an expert stock market analyst. Okay, so very clearly that you are going to analyze the stock, and you can conduct in-depth analysis of given stock, provide a brief commentary at the end of each section. So this is, I'm specifying what kind of output I need. Okay, highlighting the important points in the section if relevant. Your language should be, this is the one which comes from UI, so your language should be professional, your language should be playful. This will be substituted here. You will produce a markdown formatted output. So very specifically I'm saying I want a markdown output. Use bullets, emojis and tables where appropriate. So very clearly giving instruction to LLM what it should do and what kind of output it should produce. And then I have a user prompt. So this you can go through yourself. I'm not going to read it. So this is very specific prompt for conducting a fundamental analysis, right? So this, what should go in this prompt, it's very much domain specific. So this is a stock analysis capital market domain. So this comes from knowledge of capital market domain, right? And you can consider it like this. So consider LLM as expert in that subject, and think about what kind of questions you are going to ask. Okay, so in this case, let's say I am considering LLM as a stock market expert analyst of a stock market, and then I'm asking questions like, give me the market size, give me the breakdown of leaders in the market, or what market shares they have, what revenue they have per year, and different kind of matrix in order to evaluate stock and conduct the fundamental analysis. Okay, so this is the crux of everything. The better your prompt is, better results you are going to get, and it takes time to write prompts and refine it again and again. This is a totally different stream altogether, prompt engineering. Okay, but again, domain knowledge is required. So if you're working with your customers and users, then probably with the help of them, and you can refine and create very effective prompts. All right, so we have prompts. So next, what we are going to do is, we are not going to build UI straight away. We are going to test it first, right? So UI is just a facade in front of what the backend is doing. Okay, and it should be decoupled in such a way that backend part is intact. You keep it separately, and you can change UI as and when you want. So it should not be very closely coupled. So we are not going to build UI now. So first thing what we are going to do is, we are going to test it first using this prompt and all the backend code, LangChain code we have already created, and let's see that what kind of response we are getting from the LLM. So for that, I'm going to create a file, not here, in the root. I'm going to create a file called app test, not text, test.py. Okay, this is the file where I'm going to write my test code. So quickly, I'm going to fill this. All right, so I'm importing from backend LC. I'm importing my prompts. I am importing markdown. This is so that I can display it here in the interactive shell. Okay. So first thing, very simple. I'm creating LLM using our function we just written. I am passing it Azure. So if you are using OpenAI, then you can pass OpenAI. If you're using Ollama, then you can pass Ollama as specified here in this function. And then you'll get the LLM. Then I'm creating a prompt. Again, I'm using the make prompt template function, passing system prompt from this file, the prompts, which it already has the system prompt. It has user prompt. So I'm going to pass it. I'm joining this because in prompts, these are, I've stored this as an array for readability purposes. If you want, you can create this as a single string. It's not a problem. So just to, it makes easier to read through. That's why. That's why I'm joining, creating a single string and then passing, creating a prompt template. And then I'm calling this predict function, but this predict will come from lc dot predict from here. And I'm passing style hard-coded as professional. Then NVIDIA LLM we have created, prompt template we have created, and whatever the result we are getting, and we will be getting a markdown result because that's what we have specified in our system prompt. And then using this markdown function, I'm going to display it here. That's the whole point. So let's see. Let's try to run this and see. So okay, so let's check. LLM is there, or you can see our prompt template is picked up. And then I'm going to call the LLM. So let me clear this first and do this. These are coming from all the print statements which we have in the code. Just connected to LLM. Analysis completed successfully. Okay, so that means we should have the response. Yeah. Yes. But I don't see it properly. It's a markdown format. So if I want to display it properly, then instead of just printing it, I use this IPython display function and markdown to display it. Oh, see, this is the exactly same report that we got from the UI, right? So this is the crux of the whole application. Most of the work, as you can see, is done by LLM. It's just how we instruct it to analyze and provide us output. And this is the output. Okay. So now I think you must have guessed what's next we are going to do. We are going to just replace this app.test with our UI, and the UI will provide us this too, and the rest is same. So we'll receive the response, and then we'll write some Gradio code to take this response and display in a nice markdown format, which we saw in our application. So that's next we're going to do. Okay, so very first thing we're going to do is create a file called ui.py under frontend folder, and then we're going to build the interface, right? So if you look at our existing application, so on the left side we have a sidebar, on the right side we have the markdown with the results also shown. So exactly same thing we are doing. So first the main container, which is blocks, within that there is a markdown it's created. Initial value is blank because there's nothing to display. And then we have on the left side we have a sidebar. That sidebar contains two elements. One is a text box where we enter the symbol, stock symbol, and there is a drop down, right? So let's save this, and then in order to run this thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a launcher script. All right. So this is a very simple script which will just launch the demo. So this guy is just going to launch this demo app. Okay. And I'm creating in the root because this way it's easier to import things in other folders, this file. So everything is with respect to from where we execute. So app.py is in the root, so it becomes very easy to import things. So here we are just launching it, and let's go to our terminal. Let's try to launch. So what I'm going to do is Gradio app.py. Okay, so started. So it's running on this 7861 port. So let's go here and let's create one new tab and run it. So now you see this is our result of our code. Okay, so this is the sidebar. This is the markdown. We can't see it, but it's there. There's no content here. I can enter text like NVIDIA, but if you see, this guy is disabled. It is disabled because for drop down where you have fixed values, right? So it has to be, in order for this to be active, this has to be used as an input somewhere in the code, otherwise it will remain inactive. So next thing we are going to do is we are going to create, just to mimic our actual app, which is these two buttons. Okay, so first button is our analyze button, second button is clear button. Okay, so for now I'm going to remove this thing. So buttons, let's go and check. So these two buttons, they are created, still inactive because it has to be used in a input. So for that, what we want is when this button is clicked, then a function should be called to trigger the call to LLM, right? So we have to create an event handler. So this is analyze button click event handler. It calls a function called listener analyze stock, and the input is our drop down and the text box, and the output is markdown and a button download. So this thing we have not created yet. So what happens is when you have the output in markdown, then a button appears on the left side, which we have seen, and using that you can download, right? So as soon as this event handle finishes, it gives output in markdown and it also shows a button. So that's what this output is, right? And this thing clear we have already seen. So input is none, our output we are sending markdown and the button download. So these will be, markdown will be blanked and button download will be hidden when the clear button is clicked. Okay, so let's add this download button as well, which is very simple, just a placeholder to start with. So this is button download which we are using here, and initially it is false. It will only be made visible once we have the content on the markdown so that it can be downloaded. So initially it is set as false. Okay, so now we have to create these two listeners. So these are nothing but the functions. So this is one of them, and for that we need imports. So here are the imports. Okay, so this is complaining because we need one file in shared, which is a utility that we need to save the PDF file and where we want to save it. So these two are defined in a separate file. So this, what I'm going to do is under shared, I'm going to create a file called utils.py. So this is a common code, we can put it here. So this is, you can treat this one of the utility which we can use to save the markdown to PDF, and it comes from this package we installed, markdown PDF, and created a simple function which takes the string, markdown string as an input, and file path as another parameter, defaulted to report.pdf, the name. And this is simple, create a markdown PDF object and just write it. So what this guy is going to do is going to convert this markdown string into PDF format and going to write it into a provided path, which is nothing but data. So this data folder is going to end up here, and this whole expression is to basically going from this file to this location. So path file gives you the current location of this file, right? This file means which is under utils. Dot parent means shared, and dot parent means root. So from root go to data and right here. That's what it's doing. Okay, so just save it, close it. So this is done now. So again, this is our listener, will be called when we are going to click or analyze button. So again, you can see that it requires, it's calling this predict method from the LC LangChain file, and it needs LLM and prompt template. So this we have not done. Let's do that. So this is as usual as we did in the test app. So we are I'm connecting using Azure and creating a template, and this function basically, it takes two inputs, right, when the button is clicked. So one is text box and another is a drop down, and here it comes and it tries to call our LLM. Okay, so again we should be doing some kind of error checking here. No, so this error check, okay, so this is inbuilt into the predict method itself. Yeah, okay. So this is a simple function call. It will return the response in markdown format. Then what we are doing here is we are basically populating the markdown which we created on the right side to the sidebar. So basically this area here, this is a markdown element. We are setting the value to the response which we received from LLM, and we are making this show copy button true so that you can copy the content, right? And then since we are going to save the file, this is the IO operation, so it's better to wrap into try except block. So using the function which we just looked at, we are going to save the markdown responses into this file path, and if there is any error, it will be caught and the error will be displayed. Else we'll print done. And then another thing, we are going to return a button, download button, making it visible. True. Another thing is the value of the file, which is nothing but the path. So this download button is provided by Gradio, and it has inbuilt functionality to download a file which is present on your application server. So in our case, our report.pdf will be available here. So this download button will allow the user to download it, and we are making it visible only when it is a successful operations. That means we are able to get the response from LLM, and then simply we are returning two elements. One is markdown, which is now full with response, and button, which is now visible. Okay, so that's a simple listener. Another listener is, which we have already seen, is the clear. So let's add that as well. So this is the clear. This we have already seen, right? So we are just blanking it. So we blank the markdown when the clear button is clicked, and we make the download button as visible false, and we return both. Okay, right. So save it. There is nothing new. I mean, these things we have already seen, right? So let's go here, and now you can see we are able to select this. So let's try. So I'm going to give NVIDIA professional is fine, and I'm going to click this. Let's look at the, so it's making the call. Let's see. Okay, so all done. So let's go back to our, so now you can see, so this is the output, and copy button is true, and there is one more button, download button is now made visible. Okay, and if I click this, it's going to download the report file. And where is the report file? It is here under data now. Okay, and if I go and click this guy, this is blanked out and the download button is hidden. This is what it's doing exactly. Okay, so that's the core functionality we have already built. But one more thing you can notice is this doesn't look like this. Okay, styling is a bit different, and there are icons here which we don't have it here. So let's try to do that now. Style it a bit. To style it, let's first try themes, right? So in blocks we provide the inbuilt Gradio themes, one of them themes, and we provide this citrus theme. Let's save it, and let's look at, this is not ours is running in 61. So see, so styling has been changed, which matches with this. It's still not there yet. Okay, so in this case you can see that there are icons which are shown. In our case we haven't done that, so let's do that. So for that, what I have is, I have got a few icons copied from flat icon, and just probably I can drag it. So I'm going to drag it and put it in front end. All right, so these are basically, again, because it belongs to user interface, so that's why I'm keeping it here. Within that, if you want, you can create a separate directory called, generally people create a directory called assets, and that's where they keep it. Right now I'm going to keep it here only under front end, and then we have to specify under each button which icon it's using. So button has got a property called icon. Okay, so this is download PNG for download button, and similarly we are going to do it here. So this will be analyze, so I'm going to do gears, and clear is clear. Okay, so just provide the, under icon you provide the name of the file and should work. Let's see. So this is ours 61, which now looks very similar to what we have here, right? But again, one more thing, in this case, just to distinguish, I have given a different color to this clear button. Okay, and when the download button appears, if you have noticed in actual application that we saw in the demo, it comes as a blue color, just to distinguish that it's a different, this function is different, right? So let's make this guy as brown color as this. How do we do that? Because that's not covered by theme, so we can change that using CSS. So again, under front end, I'm going to create a file called app.css. Very simple CSS for these two. So clear button will be this color, which is kind of brownish grayish, and download will be some kind of sky blue color. Okay, and we have created the file, and then we can specify it here. So is it okay? CSS path. So just specifying that, okay, CSS, my CSS is present. So once the themes are applied, it will override that. And for that to work, we have to give the IDs to our buttons. Same ID as in CSS. So CSS has button clear and button download. So we have to give the same IDs. Let's go to download button. Okay, so this already is there. Okay, for download it's already there actually. For clear, let me add. So button clear. Okay, now let's see. So now it matches exactly with our target application, and let's see whether the download button has changed or not. So run it again. So again, NVIDIA, this time let's change this and analyze. So this color is a blue color. Okay, one thing I just noticed is let me clear this and run it again. If I run it, oh, it's there. Okay, so I thought this is not coming. Maybe first time it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, create a new tab, and the first time I notice that it's not giving the feedback that is running. NVIDIA. Yeah, so it's not giving any feedback that's running, but actually it is running. It will come. Yeah, okay. So now onwards, if I run it again, then it will give the feedback. And this is happening because initially when I ran it first time, the markdown object had no default height, but when we ran it once, it got the height created. Even though it was cleared, it got the height, minimum height available to it. So that's why it's not coming. So what we have to do the first time when we are creating it here, this is the first time we are creating. So you can give a minimum height 100. So hopefully now, so let me copy this again and then I'm going to close this, new tab, this, run it. Okay, NVIDIA playful. Okay, yep, so now it's working. Okay, so that was the issue. Okay, so it's working fine. Yeah, so we have basically finished our first generative AI application. I know it was a long journey to reach here because we had to go through a lot of basic concepts and the tools to able to build this application. We had to learn setups, we had to learn LangChain, Gradio, know about prompting, LLMs, and then we reached here. So now going forward, we are going to build one project after the other, and it will be much faster. So we'll be not going through basic details, what we are doing. So we'll straight away start with the coding. So we'll assume that we know that how to set up the environment, how to start it, when, and straight away we'll start coding it. Okay. Now in this video, the last part which remains is pushing it to GitHub, right? So this is the next thing we are going to do. Let's commit to Git. We are done with our project, so let's make our source safe and commit to source control. So initially we did initialized a Git repo, right? It was not required at the beginning. Even now we can do it, but in this case what we have done is we have built the whole thing and now I am committing, but this is not how it should be done. So incrementally when you are building it, you should be keep committing to Git locally. In that case, if you lose any changes and if you want to revert back, then it becomes easier. So, but in this case, we are going to do it in one shot. So first, let's check what's the status. So do Git status. So it's showing that, okay, these files are untracked and these are all the new files. And if you notice, it's ignoring all the files in git ignore. So this env is not committed, Python version is not committed, venv is not committed. Okay. So our next command is to stage it. How we do it? Git add a dot, and then we do git status again. So now these changes are now staged, that's ready to be committed. So let's commit them. Again, I'm going to do clear and going to git commit -m is the message and initial commit. Let's write it this. Generally when you're committing fixing bugs or adding a feature, then it's a good idea to describe like what changes you have done here rather than giving a generic comment, because these comments are also pushed to your cloud GitHub, so it helps. So let's do this. Okay, now let's do git status. Okay, nothing to commit. All right. So we are on the main branch. Now next step is we have committed everything here, so let's push it to GitHub. So let's first create our GitHub repo. So I've already logged into my GitHub account. You should also log in, and then the first thing you're going to do is in your home page. So when you log in, probably you'll end up here in your home page. Here you see repositories, so click that and then click on new, and then we create the repo. So I'm going to call it stock analyst. It should be unique, and then a simple description: LLM based stock analyst to lessons. Okay, the simple description. Keep it public. We already have git ignore, so I'm not going to do this. Readme I'm going to create later on, and license I'll be creating later on, not now. So that's it. Let's create it. Okay, so this is our repo, and again it asks us to do these things. So we have already committed and we know that we are on main branch. So now what we have to do, we have to do this. So copy, let's go to our terminal, and so this is the linking our local Git repo to the newly created GitHub repo. So they are linked. So we are saying git remote add origin, that means our GitHub repo, and this is the URL. Once this is done, and if you want to know what's been linked, then what we can do is you can do git remote -v, then it's going to tell you what GitHub repo your local repository is linked to. So in this case, both for fetching and pushing, it's linked here. Next command is to push it, right? So what you can do, git push -u origin main. So my main branch, I'm pushing to origin. All right, and we must have linked this our GitHub repo with our local repo before doing this. That's point one. Point two is, if you have not logged in, if you're doing this command first time using your newly created repo, then it's going to ask for a password. And you remember, the password is not your GitHub password, it is your token. And this aspect we covered while setting up Git repository in video 3. So if you want to refresh it, or if you haven't watched that, then please do watch it. Link will be in the description. So okay, so everything is okay, and it didn't ask me password because I already logged in once. So let's go and check. So I'm here, just going to click this, and now you can see the whole repo is already uploaded to GitHub. Okay, so both are synced. Now I think we are more or less finished. There are a few loose ends at the end we need to cover. So it's a good practice to provide for every public repo. You should be providing a README file which describes what your repo is, give a bit of background, and if it is good idea, if you want to give a user guide how to use your repo, you must provide how, if somebody wants to clone your repo and run it locally, how to do it. So all those things should be there in a README file. Then it's also a good idea to provide a license file, and generally for open source we use MIT license. And the third thing is, in this case we have not provided, in order to replicate the whole environment, that means what are the libraries and what versions of libraries we are using for this. So there is a requirement.txt file should be there in the repo. So these three things are missing: README file, license file, and requirement.txt. So this is what we'll be doing next. So let's complete the remaining task. So first one is we need requirements.txt file containing all the packages we have used in the project. So you need to be in the activated environment, right? And then just a simple command pip, and we have to say freeze and redirect the output to requirements.txt. Name could be anything, but this is the convention is used when working with pip and venv. So this is what we are going to use. Just run it. Okay, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and you see there is this file has been created, and if you see, it contains all the packages. You might be seeing more than what we installed, but so it contains everything, even the interdependency between the packages. So everything can be exported in this file, and the advantage is that anybody who has access to this file, he can just simply recreate the exact same replica of the environment you have been working. So that's the use, and we'll be providing the access to this to our whoever is going to download our repo, and steps how to recreate the environment and run the project locally. So for that we will be providing a readme MD file, which is a markdown file, and it's a convention to provide a README in every public repo you create. So what I have done is I have created one already. It's a very simple markdown file. So heading 1 is the project, and then I have given some description that briefly what the project does. Okay, and then the images which we have already seen when discussing the project design. So I put them like how the application designed. Then I have provided a simple screenshot of the interface, and there are some annotation in there to how to use it or which part does what, and then finally given the steps to install it, how to go about it, cloning the repo and what to do. Okay, so simple readme file, and the last part is I have created a file called license, and this is the MIT license. Now you can just do a Google search on MIT license, and I think it will take you to mitlicense.org website. From there you can just copy it, or you can just copy it from here from my repo. So this is the text I have copied. The only thing you have to replace it is the provider name. So if it's your repo, then you might want to put your name in here. Okay, so we have all the ingredients and the last bits which we need to complete it, and let's go and do a git status. Okay, all right, so this I have run another round, so that's why I'm saying this modified. And apart from there, three files: license, readme file, and requirement.txt, and it's also saying that there are 3 images, and these images are I have stored in shared, and these images are actually used in the readme file. So readme file is pointing to these images. Okay, so these are the files we are going to commit. So let's do that. Git first stage it, add dot. Okay, and let's clear again, do. So these are the files we are going to commit, and let's commit it. Git commit -m. So I'm going to write added readme requirements dot txt and sense. Okay, so these are all committed. Let's push it. So git push. Okay, so now everything is synced. Come to your repo, refresh it, and now you'll see these are our changes, new changes, and you'll see the readme file is displayed on the first page. So this is the heading, and this is the description, and the images are shown, and this is the kind of usage guide. So instead of writing it, I have just provided a screenshot and annotated like what portion of this interface does what. Okay, so easier. And here is the installation and run. So basically simply create a directory, clone the repo, go in the stock analyst directory. Okay, then create a virtual env, activate it, then install the requirement.txt, and then run the application and open it in browser. As simple as that. Okay, so this concludes our first GenAI project. I believe it was fun, and if you liked it, then please consider subscribing and sharing the video. And from the next videos onward, we'll be mostly doing the projects after projects, and in case we need to learn anything extra, then we'll take a small detour and we'll learn that and come back and do the project. So main focus is building more and more applications as we go along. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye.